Okay. I suspect that Sheila will join us directly. What do you think, Fred? Should we call the meeting to order, or do you want to wait a little bit, give her a chance to get on?
Well, our public is waiting. I don't mind waiting just a minute, but
Our public? Okay. Do we have groupies now? So while we're waiting, Takia, some of those attachments I put in the latest version of the draft, the FTEs and the salaries, and I think a couple of other things are smushed up because they're landscape instead of portrait. Does somebody know how to fix that in the report? Takia?
Give me 1 second. I want to
Okay.
look at them. Oh, like attachment D is cut off. Attachment D. That's Sheila's. For Sheila's, she created that chart in Word, I think. Let me see if I can.
Don't use Sheila's version for anything. It's full of all kinds of stuff. It imports all the Greek letters and things like that. So I'm going to hand input Sheila's edits into the main document, which I consider to be the version that I sent everybody. There's all kinds of crazy stuff that happens when things are in the iPad and then they come back to Word. So I will be importing her changes, going over the edits that Fred's offered, which are very few, and the look at the editorial changes that David did, and try to get a document to you later this morning, which I hope is what we can put together to give to the council. Fred, while we're waiting, I had no intention to read the report or do anything like that tonight. I think it was just basically, I was going to hand off the report. Here's Sheila. Good morning. I'm good. Oh, no. We're on live. We're on Zoom on the city. You should be dialing into the city. Okay. All right. We were taking care of some other things, so we'll wait till you get, and then we'll bring it to the committee to order. All right. Bye. Okay, bye. Sure, bye. Well, that explains that.
okay.
Where were we? So Sheila's gonna need a minute to get on Zoom and dial in. What were we talking about? For tonight, the handoff. I don't, what would, if you were doing this, Fred, if you were presenting to the council, how would you do it?
I would not read it.
No, you can believe that.
I can think of one of our colleagues who probably would, but you know, if you're going to read anything, I think you just read the last paragraph or two saying, we hope here's the report. We hope it's helpful.
Yeah, I just thought I'd hit some of the, a few highlights and then basically say, look, we will be happy to have a couple of work sessions to meet with you. Any of you that want to go over the report or go over any of the other information that we got during the process, so that if you have questions, we can try to handle them there rather than on the floor of the council. David, are we going to take this up on the May 26th meeting? Will we have this before the council? May 26th, it's a Tuesday, right? Because Monday's a Memorial Day. Mm-hmm. Or are we thinking of waiting until the June meeting for the budget to go, for the council to start taking?
I think we were thinking of waiting until June, but it may be prudent to take it up in May so that we can get some things done before because it's the first meeting in June. That's the 10 o'clock meeting, right? When we have tentatively the long day to get through this.
Oh, okay. I guess
Alderman Arnett?
My sense would be, I have no idea where other council members are. And I'd rather have a couple of not going till all hours in the morning meetings than to try to, but I mean, that's something to talk over with the mayor and the agenda committee. Takia, you were going to say something?
Takia has something.
Yes, if you're going to have this conversation, I suggest you call the meeting to order.
Okay.
So I should.
Sheila should be here directly.
Well, let's go ahead and start.
All right. So I'll call the Finance Committee meeting of 11 May to order. Alderman Payon and Alderman Arnett are here, and Alderwoman Finlayson is going to be joining us soon. Takia, am I seeing correctly, there are no minutes for us to approve for this meeting?
Correct.
All right. So the next thing is a motion to approve the agenda. Oops, very generic agenda.
Very bare. I move that we approve the agenda.
All right. I will second that. Any discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
The agenda is approved. For this meeting, my sense was that we would do any, I'm trying to groping for the right word, any substantive additions or changes to the report that are not simply editorial. I do have a number of editorial comments from David and from Sheila. I'm going to work on getting those into the report. There are some cleanups in terms of some of the attachments. So we have to make a couple of decisions about how fat we want this report to be if someone should decide they want to print it out, or if they don't want to print it out, if someone from the public wants to look at the document, will they be able to look at the materials? Good morning, Sheila.
Morning.
Morning.
Greetings from Milwaukee. It's cold.
Yeah, it's nice. It's beautiful here. So Sheila, we adjourned. We commenced the meeting. There were no minutes, so we were just getting into questions of any additional things we would like to add. Fred and I were talking briefly about on the second to last paragraph. Fred is suggesting the committee hopes the council finds this report rather than recommendations helpful because we didn't really, we voted to make recommendations, but we don't have throughout the meeting, there are things where we took the report, there are things where we took votes to recommend the council do thus and such, approve, like, for example, the capital budget. But we don't have a recommendations section and a next step sessions or parking lot section at the end as we have had in the past. And so the question is, do we want to do anything? And that leads to a parallel question. I was talking about what I would say tonight. I'm certainly not planning on reading the report. I thought I would give all the appropriate thank yous, a very brief discussion of the process that we followed, and conceivably some highlights, but basically hand it off. I mean, if I take 5 minutes, and we're talking about me here, if I take 5 minutes, that would be long. So that was sort of my sense of the presentation tonight. My sense of the document is, other than cleanup, the only things that I think are outstanding are, do we want to add any additional sections at the end? A summary section, a recommendation section, a next step section, anything like that? And if so, I'm accepting volunteers to write that.
I think our responsibility is to give recommendations. I mean, why have we done all of this if we're not going to tell them our opinion about what we should be, how we should be moving forward? I think it is it feels like an easy way out to not give any recommendations. And we've said that in the report. We've said we recommend certain things. So I think we have to highlight the things that we recommend. We recommend sections 2 through 29 in 01620. So to pretend that we didn't make those recommendations is, I think, misleading. And I think we should.
I don't think anybody's pretending, but I think we did it in the report. Do we go back and do it again?
That was my thinking.
I think we summarize it. You know, our whole thing has been to make it easier for the council. So now we're going to say, no, you go back and you read all of that, and then you'll see what our recommendations are. You know, we should be very clear and succinct in what our recommendations are. And I think we can simply go to 016 and say, these are the things we recommend, and list them out. I mean, heavens, if we're going to put in, you know, our process 3 times, we should put in our recommendations 3 times.
I think the recommendations are part of the report, and I don't think that a separate section or vote is necessary. I think
we already voted.
I'm sorry?
We already voted on them.
Yeah, but not on the overall report or recommendation on the overall budget itself. And I think we ought to leave it the way it is and just say that here's the report, and you know, we hope you find it helpful. And the report includes recommendations.
I think the platitudes are second nature to what our recommendations are. Okay, I think the process is second nature to what the recommendations are. And to not want to highlight those things, you know, begs the question about whether we really support those things. If we're not willing to stand up for what we did and to share it with our colleagues, and I think in the past, that is what has been done. I know for a fact in the past, that is what has been done. And I suspect that that's exactly what our colleagues expect, at least those that have been through this process before. So for us to not say, these are our recommendations is a mistake.
I don't understand. I don't even understand the argument, but I mean, I have no intention of voting in favor of this budget, and it certainly implies that I've done that. I voted in favor of the report, and there's a big difference.
I don't see the big difference. The report is on the budget. So how do you separate it out? And
I didn't vote to recommend the budget.
but you voted to recommend several pieces of the budget in that 1 through 29. There were 2 or 3 that you did not vote for, but you voted for all of the others. And that's why we recorded, at least I recorded in my notes, what those votes were. I don't think we're saying that you support the whole thing. We all know that you're not going to support the budget. But for that reason, you don't want the council to hear what our recommendations are? You don't want that delineated?
No, I don't want anything changed from what it is right now, except for one word in the next to the last paragraph.
So
Well,
let
I
me,
think another
let me step
paragraph.
in.
These are whatever.
I'm looking at the report for fiscal 19. There is a page conclusion section, which is not dissimilar from the sort of conclusion that we have. Then there is a section that has the legislative recommendations, and it goes through a summary of the votes. So on 01618, which this happened to be, it has a vote on all of the amendments, which we in fact did. We took a vote on, they're not amendments, but all of the sectors of the ordinance, and we took a vote on all of the different components of the fee schedule and the fine schedule. We did not yet take a vote on the pay schedule, but that's because the pay schedule isn't changing. We're just including that as a piece of information. Sheila, I don't know what you have. Fred, I don't know what you think about that. That is a remuneration of what we did. It's in the minutes that Takia has been keeping. That's something that we can add. Takia, I don't know if that's something that would be easy to pull up out of the minutes or not. But I mean, we could just do a remuneration for 1620. The committee did not vote on section 1, voted yes 3-1 or 3-0. On section 2, do. On section whatever it was, 26, the vote was 2-1. I mean, that is a summary remuneration of the actual votes taken by the committee. And that's something that we could pull together at this 11th hour. Is that what you had in mind, Sheila?
Yes, it is. And
Okay.
with the subtitle of recommendations.
Okay. Fred, is that something that would be problematic? I'll get to you in a second, Takia.
Yeah, I don't think it's, the only vote I think we may need to take is whether or not we recommend passage of the overall budget, yes or no.
I thought we decided we could not do that because we couldn't support the First Amendment or the first section.
I would not phrase it that way. Personally, I would say we couldn't find agreement on section 1 of the ordinance, but Takia's trying to get a word in edgewise. Takia.
So you guys did do an individual vote, but then after that, I believe it was on Friday, you guys took a block vote for sections 2 through 29. And I asked about it and you guys said you wanted to do it that way. So that wiped out anything that you did prior to that. And that vote passed 2-1 with Alderman Payon being the nay.
I think we're kind of arguing about angels on the head of a pin in that regard. We did take individual votes. Fred, were you intending to vote against in its entirety sections 2 through 29?
Yeah, pretty much.
Oh, all right. Well, fine. Well, that makes it simple. So for the vote on the ordinance, the committee could not take a position on section 1 and voted 2-1 to recommend sections 2 through 29. That's a short list. And then the same thing for the resolution, the 2 resolutions. And then Takia, I want to make sure we have a final version of the community grants where everything adds up. I think we need to take a vote on that today so that we can include that in the summary of the actions taken by the committee. So Sheila sent us on Friday a version of the community grants that adds up to the $429,700, leaving the HACA reimbursement at $80,000 and having an allocation for each of the components. Have you had a chance to look at that, Fred?
Yes.
Is there a motion on the community grants recommendation from the Finance Committee?
Mr. Chair, I'll move recommendation to approve the community grants allocations as listed.
Is there a second? I will second that motion. Is there further discussion?
Did Takia receive the final? When did I send it out? On Friday?
Friday, yeah.
No, I was just
Yeah.
looking, and I don't think I have that.
Okay.
I'll forward that. Okay, well, yeah, Sheila, better coming straight from you.
I'll resend it
Thank
right
you.
away.
But it is, Takia, on the draft that I sent you, it is the last attachment. And it also gets all squished up because of formatting issues. but
Right, I've seen it in the draft, I just don't have the actual document.
Right, okay. All right, Fred, did you want to make a comment?
On
Community grant vote, we have that moved and seconded.
I do not intend to support that, even though I support the cause as various causes. I don't think we did a good job of presenting whether or not people have been successful with the grants in the past. I'm not clear as to what precisely some of these are used for or in the past have been used for. That's it.
So I heard that comment from you. I'm not sure that's a budget question per se. I do agree it's a procedure question. We did have a process at one time where we were getting, the grantees had to report quarterly on what they were doing. It went to the grants committee. And one time we were getting fairly regular updates from that. And that sort of fell by the wayside. I don't think it's been picked up in this term, but I think that's something that is a suggestion for future actions on the part of the committee. That we go back and look at that whole grants process and the grants reporting. Sheila?
I believe, and I could be wrong, but I believe that they submit quarterly reports to Lynn Farrow, and that she did send us, I know, a description of each of those grantees, I guess. She sent us a description of each of the nonprofits, and there is backup documentation for all of those organizations, which includes the number of people they serve, how the money is supposed to be allocated and how it is allocated within their organization. So the information is available if we ask for it. We did ask for a description, and she gave us that a couple of weeks ago or a week ago, whenever it was. So we do have the information on those programs.
Well, I agree that we have the description. I think Fred is talking about something a little deeper, and I find myself sympathetic to it, which is we need to have some kind of, when the grants come in again, we need to have to us for consideration we need to have some kind of summary or indication of how successful if they're a returning grantee, how their last year's operations went. We didn't ask for that. I didn't think to ask for that, but I think, Fred, your point is well taken, that that's something before we go ahead and grant monies to organizations, we should have some idea of how successful they were. But I view that as different from your other grant consideration, which is the amount of the grants, which I've taken you to have issue with in the past. I don't know if you're talking about it now. But I do think that's something that we can talk about. We clearly had some discussion about the whole grant process, who the committee is, how it works, what is the handoff of the committee to the finance committee, and from the finance committee to the council. And then there's this reporting on how successful the operations have been. So I could see putting that in the next steps or parking lot, future issues to be returned, that sort of thing.
Okay.
All right. So we have before us a motion to approve the community grants amount and allocation as amended by the Finance Committee. All those in favor of that signify by saying aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
No. All right. So we now have an official vote on that, and that can now officially be added as attachment G to the report. And when I do this summary statement of the actions taken by the committee, I will include that in that summary. So the summary will look much attenuated, I think, from past years, although it doesn't have to be, but it'll be the overall vote on the ordinance, on the resolutions, on the community grants. Do we have any other? I think that's pretty much it.
Mr. Chair, could you make sure Takia got the grants? I sent it to her.
Yes, she's shaking her head yes.
Good.
All right. Any remaining business that I have tons of edits to review from you, Sheila, a few from Fred, some from David. I plan to spend the rest of the morning trying to put together a complete document. I will add a summary section that briefly summarizes the votes taken by the committee on the legislative components, and anything else you can think of that we need to do to wrap this up.
Well, let me make sure I completely understand. We voted to approve the report 3-0, but we did not take a vote on the actual budget itself. Is that correct?
I'm not even sure we voted to approve the report. I think we voted on the ordinance. We voted favorably 2-1 on all sections of the ordinance, save section 1, where we could not reach an agreement. We voted favorably on R26 with some amendments to drop 2 of the fees until we get legislation to support it, and a couple of wording changes. And we voted 3-1 in favor of R27, which is the fines, which had only 1 change to it. And we just voted 2-1 in favor of the community grants.
Okay.
You don't have to vote on the fee schedule. In the legislation, we voted favorably on section 26, 2-1, to keep the fee levies as they are. So assuming the council follows that recommendation, the state will be able to have that information that it would use when it sends out the tax bills.
Okay, just wanted to make sure.
Mr. Chair, they are recommendations from the committee, correct?
Right.
Okay.
Recommendation. They're not there's nothing final about the votes. It's just the sense of the committee. On some things, this committee had 3 senses, and some things it had 2-to-1 senses.
And this is like any other piece of legislation. I mean, it's the biggest piece and the most, I guess, most important piece. But every committee gives their recommendations to the full council. This is no different. It's just the most important thing we do.
Right. Well, and Sheila, I don't know if out there you got to see the Capitol this morning, but most of this has been pretty much scooped by the Capitol article this morning anyway. So the committee, the report is sort of redundant at this point.
Well, I'm sure they were watching us on Friday when we took the votes. And I have to commend them for watching all of our meetings and keeping up. What can you say? It's all in open session, so, you know, it may be
commending
virtual.
or consolation, consoling them.
So I'll check out the paper, though.
Commend them for keeping awake.
If there's no other business other than thanking, Mr. City Attorney, I saw your face come on and then go off. Was there something that we needed to hear from you? You're on mute.
No, sir, just standing by.
All right, well, thank you. I think we're going to let everybody go. I do want to really thank everybody, and there's lots of people that aren't online now, again, and we'll do it in the report, and I'll do it tonight. But the department heads were really wonderful in their response to the committee and following the format that we chose and the information. Certainly, David and Jody and Katie and everybody, the Office of Law, got us information very quickly, even though we weren't always as organized as we probably should have been, but we got it. And I have said it before, I'll say it one more time. I'm pleased with the work we did. I wish we had had a more unanimous outcome, but at least I'm pleased with the rigor with which we pursued the budget this year, the depth we got into it with the help of all of the players on the administration side. And I also want to thank Takia for being our traffic cop and keeping us on schedule and getting us all the right piece of information. Yes, thank you. And Julian and Mark for keeping us online, maybe to the great regret of the viewing public, but in any event. So a lot of people did a lot of work, and it was hard work, and I'm very appreciative, and I think the committee members are too, but I'll let them speak for themselves before we adjourn. Mr. Lyles.
Yes, Mr. Chair. One thing I did forget to mention is that you had asked us about an opinion on the 401A, and we've been researching that. We were hoping to get something to you Friday, but we were waiting on 2 pieces of information. We think, though, that we would have something to you and all the city council by the end of today.
Okay, at this point, I think that's just going to have to go to the council writ large.
Sounds good.
We've done everything we can in terms of the report, noting it's there and there are questions, and it was one of the ambiguities for Section 1 of the ordinance, and it'll be in the council's hands at this point. And really, I think the question for the council is twofold. Do we have the authority to defer it? And if we do have the authority to defer that or not pay it, which is different than defer, is the council going to be in favor of doing that? And if not, what are they going to do to balance the budget? But we appreciate it. It sort of came up late, and we need to find out more about it, but I don't think the committee can do anything with that any more than we have at this point. But thank you for that information. All right.
It's Mr. Chair. I think, and I don't know whether you mentioned all of our department heads, but everyone who came to us followed the recommendations that we set out as to the format, and they too were very responsive to our questions and our concerns. So I think everyone is to be lauded in their efforts. And are we going to include the dates of the work sessions in the report so the council can plan to attend or not?
Do we have them?
We had asked Takia last week to come up with dates. I don't know whether she's had time to do this or not. but-
I did look at it, and I looked at everyone's schedule the part that I can see on the Google Calendar. And this week, it didn't look like there were any days that were going to be good for.
But we have a work session on the 21st.
Right, that's our regular
Well,
day.
is anything scheduled for that work session? Can we take that one?
I can ask Regina and see what's on
Okay.
and get back to you.
I have to say, Takia, my heart breaks that there's no ability to have a meeting this week.
I mean, it's still up to you. Like I said, you don't have a quorum, and we also have to get on board with the mayor. So,
Yeah,
Well,
so,
I didn't think we were trying to rush it through to have one this week, but we just wanted to make it, put it on the schedule, I thought, before the next council meeting.
oh, no, I thought you said that you wanted 2 for this week. And so that's what I looked at this week.
no.
Okay.
No,
Okay. I'll talk to
Please,
Regina.
no.
I like Fred's idea if we could do this for the work sessions. The work sessions get scheduled and they're treated like they're ironclad. There are work sessions, and if we want to change the agenda for the work session and make it available for talking about the budget. First, though, it seems to me we need to find out, and maybe it's up to me to send an email to the council. They may not be interested in hearing from us. They may have gotten their fill watching the meetings incessantly, or they may feel they can do it on their own. So we can offer it, but I certainly don't want to force them if they're not interested in it. So I think what I will do is send out an email today suggesting this as a possibility. I'll try to coordinate with Regina to find out what we have on the work session on the 21st. Is that the date? 21st? Whenever it is, and suggest that we could take some of that time, as much as they need.
That's exactly right, Mr. 21st, 3 o'clock.
So we can see what the response is. There may be no interest, there may be just overwhelming demand, and we'll have to have an encore.
Well, Mr. Chair, if we're going to do it, I would suggest that we take we're going to need the 2 hours. And to think we can squeeze it in around some other things, I think is going to make short shrift of the budget.
Right, pretty bogus thought.
So.
All right. I will take care of that bit of business with an email directly, and we'll see what response, and I'll include all the appropriate, David, Regina, and all the
All right.
appropriate players on the city side, as well as our colleagues on the council.
Okay, so you'll be costing us too.
No.
Do we need to hear it again? I mean, really?
Everybody but me, I know.
Right, yeah. I'm done with you guys.
I don't blame you.
All right. Was there a motion to adjourn?
Well, there is now.
All right. Is there a
Second,
second?
I'll second it.
All right. Any further
David was
discussion?
writing though before we take that vote. I saw David writing something. David, you have something you want to share with us? Or you just want to say good riddance?
Thank you. Glad we're done.
Just
All right.
loosening up the wrist, you know, it's.
Right. Okay, well, you two are done. I now have to go make all of these edits and get coordinated with Takia. So my day is just beginning. All in favor of adjourning signify by saying aye.
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 The ayes have it. Thank you.